听专家解读美国升学方案，看美国学习生活点滴，圆美国名校梦想。本节目由美国文美教育集团冠名播出。
大家好，欢迎收看文美集团美国升学直通车。文美集团美国升学直通车是华人网和文美教育集团联合制作播出的北美首档大型的网络直播教育节目。在我们的节目当中，你将会了解到最新最权威的教育资讯，还有升学的建议。无论你是学生还是家长，有任何的美国升学教育问题，都可以给我们留言。首先来介绍一下文美集团。美国文美集团，美国大学申请规划服务第一品牌，20年经验，万博士领衔常春藤顾问团队，中美双顾问模式服务一个学生，按照大学录取学校排名收费，与孩子形成利益共同体。华人老品牌，值得您的信赖。文美集团隆重推出 ACT 大学专业及职业测评规划管理系统，华人升学机构首创，完美解决华人学生最大升学痛点。人工智能提前锁定大学专业方向，提前2到5年布局申请。有了专业测评系统，孩子的课程规划更清晰，活动更聚焦，文书更有故事感，大学申请更有竞争力。5到11年级学生都可以报名参加测评。文美集团1对1非营利组织成立运营领导力项目，让孩子从参与者变为领导者，真正成长、成人、成才进名校。5到11年级学生均可报名参加。文美集团社会影响力联合国网络义工课程，节省孩子时间，做名校认可的社会影响力，高大上义工。5到11年级学生均可报名参加。今天我们邀请到前康奈尔大学的面试官，同时呢也是文美集团的顾问 Mr. Pierre 来和我们聊聊想进哈佛、MIT、斯坦福的孩子需要具备的5个特征。有请 Mr. Pierre。Hi,
this is Pierre Rodriguez for WinMay.Today's topic is going to be building a competitive student profile. As you know, I am an admissions counselor and I also do SAT prep for WinMay. This topic is going to be far too long to condense into a 20 to 30-minute video. It is definitely something that a lot of people ask about. It's essentially going to sit at the heart of admissions counseling.In a condensed manner. So we will cover as much as we can, but really there is a lot more that we could mention. So our focus is going to be on top 20 or T20 universities. So that means the top 20 schools based on rankings. In recent years, the admissions landscape at the nation's most selective colleges have become extremely competitive.This is something we talked about in the first video. Acceptance rates are now often below 5%. For example, Harvard admitted only 2,003 applicants of 47,893, so about 4.2% for the class of 2029. Likewise, MIT admitted just 1,334 out of 29,281 applicants for an acceptance rate of 4.6%. And likewise, Stanford was about 3.6% for the class of 2028. This trend is driven by soaring application volumes and virtually fixed class sizes. In other words, more and more people are applying, but the number of seats is fixed.In response, many top colleges have adjusted policies, for example, requiring SAT, ACT scores, again, for future entering classes. This is also something we talked about in the previous video. And renewed emphasis on holistic review. However, the focus for today is building a competitive profile. So that means maximizing every single part of the application. Academic rigor, high GPA, strong test scores when required.Deep extracurricular commitments, impactful essays, and smart application strategy. For example, having a strong college list, considering things like early decision, early action, if available, excellent recommendations, etc. Throughout this presentation, we will break down the key components: academics, testing, activities, and applications.And offer concrete, actionable advice We will also share insider secrets about how admissions offices work. So the topics that we will attempt to cover, although, as I said, it's impossible to cover all of them: academic foundation, standardized testing strategy, extracurricular strategy, application strategy, essays and narrative, which we covered in a previous video, timeline and roadmap, insider secrets, and then case studies as examples. So for academic foundation, this means course rigor, so AP, IB, dual enrollment, GPA and class rank, STEM and versus humanities balance. For standardized testing strategy, this means the evolving test optional landscape and how to navigate it for top schools. Many are now reinstating testing requirements. Extracurricular strategy, depth versus breadth. In other words, going and doing something really deeply, in other words, for like 4 years versus having a solid mix of various activities, various interests. Leadership, research and internships, arts and athletics, community impact. Application strategy, constructing a balanced college list, early action, early decision, demonstrating interest, and strong recommendations. Essays and narrative, crafting personal statements that convey a clear story, including specific details and reflections, like we mentioned before. Timeline and roadmap, a grade-by-grade guide and timeline of key milestones shown below. Insider secrets, a deep dive into how hard to find insights, for example, yield management, wait lists, legacy athletes, impacts the admissions process. And finally, case studies, hypothetical student profiles illustrating how to apply these strategies in practice. In the future, we'll consider using actual student case studies. These are hypothetical, but through things such as stats and ECs, posts on admissions pages, for example, on Reddit, we can get a unique insight into the actual mix of extracurriculars and academics that it takes to get accepted into these elite universities. So throughout, we will reference up-to-date data and official guidance from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and other top 20 universities, using resources such as official admissions websites, common data sets, and reputable media. At the end, we give specific next steps and resources. So we can start with what makes a competitive profile. A competitive profile for top 20 admissions combines excellence in academics with demonstrated passion and leadership out of the classroom. No single factor guarantees admission. Colleges use holistic review. Top candidates excel academically. They have near perfect grades and the most rigorous curriculum their school offers. So they're going to take the most advanced courses and go beyond that and go ahead and take, for instance, dual enrollment courses. And they tend to also stand out with meaningful achievements in one or more areas. In broad strokes, academic and coursework. So they will have a near 4.0 GPA, almost all A's, and a transcript full of honors, AP, IB, or other advanced courses in core subjects. Elite colleges typically expect top students to take the hardest classes available. For example, MIT explicitly requires all students to learn calculus and physics at an advanced level. So that would be AP Calculus BC and AP Physics C, Mechanics, and E&M, which is calculus-based physics. And research from admissions offices shows that test scores and math ability remain strong predictors of success in STEM-heavy curricula. In practice, most admits at Ivy, Caltech, Stanford have completed multiple AP IB courses, often in the range of 5 to 10 plus, in math, science, and humanities. While more than 6 APs may not dramatically improve college performance, not taking them can make a student look under-challenged. Testing. For many top schools, SAT, ACT scores now matter again. So we talked about this previously. When required, a competitive applicant should aim for scores in or above the 75th percentile for the admits. For instance, Brown's admitted class had SAT 50% range of 1480 to 1560, and MIT's was roughly 1520 to 1580. Extracurricular portfolio. Deep, sustained involvement is key. Rather than dozens of fleeting activities, admissions officers look for leadership and impact in a few areas. So this is also why we have the leadership program at WinMay to help students develop those skills. Top students often captain sports teams, direct plays, run clubs, or serve in local government. Many also engage in research or internships, common in STEM and top school feeder programs. Elite feeder high schools emphasize this. For example, students there often complete independent research or mentorship projects by senior year. So again, at WinMay, we offer a research program to give students the opportunity to do research with professors at top universities. We will also discuss strategies for choosing and highlighting activities, but in general, quality is greater than quantity. For example, a multi-year research project or award is more memorable than generic club memberships. Essays and personal narrative we have discussed in a previous video, so I'll go ahead and move on from that, but the idea is to tell your story, your unique story that only you could tell.